So we're getting a new spot or trailer every day suddenly, and the latest one showed this guy, who everyone is saying is APELINQ. I'm not so sure. If it was APELINQ, it would be a really interesting choice because he wasn't exactly a frontrunner in the Beast era. Anyway, let's see where he would fit in a list of most powerful Maximals. But just very briefly, who are the Maximals? Traditionally, anyway, they were the faction that arose to control Cybertron after the devastating civil war between the Autobots and the Decepticons. At some point, there was an event called Great Update, which was a huge overhaul of the entire planet and society, where basically the bots came up with smaller, more fuel-efficient bodies, and as a consequence, the whole planet had to be redesigned to suit their more diminutive stature. Another big difference between them and the Autobots is their semi-organic beast modes that allow them to blend in with the planet's organic life forms. This is apparently an offshoot of Pretender technology, which allowed bots to disguise themselves as humans, amongst other things. Now, all this is because the Maximals are primarily a non-military race, with focus on exploration, and they're generally peaceful. Anyway, I'll go into what went wrong between them and the Predacons in my most powerful Predacons vids, which I'll follow this one up with, and how they allowed history to repeat itself. So make sure you subscribe for that, hit like on this video, and let's get started with RHINOX. Now you know that a list that starts off with a big bot beefcake is going crazy places, right? And that's how it's gonna be. Smart, strong, with a strong moral compass. Also loves to smell flowers. And as loyal as they come. Well, until the Tankor event, that is. He fought Megatron to a stalemate without much effort at all. And I pity any bot looking down the end of his twin chain guns that absolutely shred. He's designed many a device and weapon, including a replacement for Shockwave's gun arm in the IDW1 continuity, where he served Onyx Prime for millions of years, then eventually turned to the light side when it turned out that Onyx had been Shockwave the whole time. Naughty, naughty Shockwave. Next up, and I'm gonna quickly whiz through these because I'm working on something else at the same time, let's talk about NOCTORRO. One of the oldest Maximals, he is proof that with age doesn't always come wisdom, as he's described as pretty reckless. As well as his short temper, he has massive strength, and all this makes for a vicious hand-to-hand combatant who uses his horns and claws in pretty unorthodox ways. He has wrist-mounted generators that allow him to fire bolts of energy out from his claws, and he just looks awesome and weird and awesome, but mainly awesome, also weird. Next up, let's talk DINOBOT, one of my all-time favorite Transformers, whose death gave us one of my all-time favorite moments in Transformers. I just absolutely loved seeing this kind of like hatred between him and Rat Trap, but actually under the surface there was kind of like this deep friendship that evolved over time. This rotating, spinning blade that he has, and his laser eyes. You know, now that I'm reading my notes back, maybe he doesn't belong on this list. Like as badass as he is, I can't actually see him beating RHINOX. Can you? And if I put him on the list, then out of fairness, I probably have to put loads others on the list. But you know what? I won't edit this section out. Let's just call it a shout out for sentimentality's sake. You guys let me know what you think. Does DINOBOT belong on a list of most powerful Maximals? So roundabout here is where I would put APELINQ. But the truth is, he might be deserving of a place even higher. In peacetime, he was a computer xenoscientist, being the inventor of the transfer interlink, a device that can download digital objects into physical form. But he was eventually called to lead a reformation of the legendary Wreckers. He's one of the best tacticians in the business and was part of the group tasked with finding the missing Maximal ship, Axelon. Now, I might do a video going into more detail on this guy if this video does well, but you know, let's see. Let's just do a 20-second interlude right here for me to tell you about the pack. Nothing to do with most powerful, just I thought it was funny. It was made up of Break, a penguin, Purple Horse, Stampy, fucking angry rabbit, and Long Rack, the combat giraffe. There you go, I just thought that was amusing. Interlude over. Next, I've put Optimus Primal, brave, loyal, and potentially one of the greatest Cybertronians to have ever lived. I know, right? It's pretty early in the list for this guy, but that's just the kind of list we're on here. Now, I don't know what Rise of the Beasts will be doing with its incarnation of this character, but he's usually a humble starship captain whose ship was diverted off course to follow the Predacons, before the ensuing Beast Wars, which then evolved into an experiment by the alien race known as the Vok. He then went on to save Earth and its population, Cybertron and its population, and the Alternity, which is a highly evolved form of Cybertronian life that exists in higher dimensional space. And if all that wasn't enough, his body was upgraded a few times too over the years. Thing is though, he has been overpowered a few times and even killed a couple of times. Let's talk Polar Claw. Now this guy, who turns into the most powerful of land mammals, used to be a drill sergeant at the Maximal Military Academy and squished a Predacon as soon as he was awoken from stasis. In the 2021 IDW continuity, his protoform was discovered by the Vok, who reprogrammed him to capture Optimus Primal. He easily overpowered Primal and handed him over before he was later chomped by Megatron, who blew a hole right through him.
Depth Charge.
Super powerful, but also kind of super obsessive, Depth Charge is on a quest for revenge against the being known as Protoform X, who slaughtered his friends, literally devouring them, apparently.
Protoform X detected.
Yes. Lock on and follow.
Depth Charge used to be a peace officer known as an Imperial Space Marshal. When Protoform X killed his friends and obliterated the territory he was meant to be safeguarding, he became ultra-focused on revenge, managing to capture his enemy and turning it over to Maximal High Command. Unwilling to put Protoform X to death, they decreed that it should be kept in stasis and dumped on some abandoned planet somewhere. So it ended up aboard the Axelon, which Depth Charge followed through the time portal, and the rest is history. Even though Depth Charge will help his Maximal contemporaries in their missions against the Predacons, his main focus is and always will be Protoform X, or as he eventually came to be known, Ravage. DC has single-handedly driven out enemy battle groups, but also isn't afraid to disobey orders. His Captain Ahab obsession eventually killed him though, as he shoved an Energon shard into Rampage's Spark, which then exploded, killing them both. Let's talk about Grimlock. That's right, my boy Grimlock was in the Beast era too, and he looks awesome. As I said at the beginning of the vid, all of the Cybertronians were downsized in the Great Update, and one bot who hated this idea was Grimlock. He had a personalized reformatting chip installed that deliberately sought out not only the strongest, but the deadliest beast modes, alive or extinct, which of course made him look like this. When the Axelon crashed on Earth, guess who was among the Protoforms? And he woke up especially grumpy and took it all out on the poor Predacons. Magmatron offered him the chance to withdraw, but you know Grimmy ain't backing down from a fight, and the two went at it until Magmatron used his triple beast mode to get a narrow victory. Oh, and I'm going to talk about Magmatron in my most powerful Predacons vid, don't you worry. Anyway, after that, Grimlock chomped his way through Manterror, Retrax, Snapper, and later Spitor, Iguanus, and I don't know, a few others. Unstoppable, this guy. Right, next I've got TORCA, an incredibly powerful fusor that blends an orca and mammoth. This guy is well equipped for battle on both land and in the water, with huge tusks that can sweep aside opponents as if they weren't even there. His huge size can be a disadvantage though, as we see here he gets stuck in mud and can't free himself without the help of K9, Bantor, Stink Bomb, and NOCTORRO. Another weakness is that his size doesn't allow him to be particularly mobile, so as you'd expect, he's particularly vulnerable from the air. His character is actually the opposite of what you might expect, being very quiet and reserved, and a thinker rather than a doer, if you know what I mean. Oh, second interlude time. This one just to plug my gaming channel, if you guys didn't know about this already. I'm going to start rounding up my playthrough of Transformers Devastation, and I'm going to start on War for Cybertron. I might put a video on this channel, you know, just like my love letter to the Cybertron games, and then I'm going to play it to absolute death on my other channel. So check that out. Okay, interlude over. One that I gotta at least shout out is Leo Convoy. The only reason I can't rank him on this list right now is I'm not that familiar with the Japanese continuities. Like, I'm not even really sure how to pronounce it. Is it Leo Convoy, Lio Convoy? I don't know. If you want to know more about this one, I would suggest Chris McFeely. He is like the go-to guy for Transformers stuff on the internet. In the runners-up spot, I've got MAGNABOSS. He's a legendary, fearsome combiner, combining Prowl's ferocity and analytic mind, Silverbolt's speed and compassion, and Ironhide's strength and courage. This guy's footsteps are said to cause tremors in the ground beneath him, and is a titanic force on the battlefield, using Ironhide's tusk as antenna, which allows him to coordinate troops as well as quickly map out a battlefield. He has chest rockets and even thrusters built into his back, which give him a limited flight capability. But it's really that megaton sword that apparently is made of an alloy that can cut through almost anything and can absorb energy and deflect any kinds of energy blast. I like how it has its own tail, which apparently can defy gravity. And after the war, he disappeared disappeared and became part of a legend, prophesizing the return of a savior when the Maximals needed him most. In the 3H comics, he was a member of the Maximal High Council who disbelieved Primal's warnings about Unicron, and he was killed as a consequence in a slaughter which came to be known as the Culling, where thousands died. According to yet another account, he was created as a fusion of the three great elders who presided over the Maximal Imperium to combat the fearsome Predacon combiner, Tripredacus. Then, after the signing of Pax Cybertronia, basically the peace treaty at the end of the Civil War, he mysteriously disappeared, becoming myth, a legend that told of a figure that would reappear only when the Maximals needed him most. But there's one that wipes the floor with all of these, and that's Tigerhawk. So as the mysterious aliens known as the VOC became increasingly worried about Megatron's dicking around with space-time and the time stream and the risk of him creating a time paradox that would end up with the whole universe getting sucked into a black hole or something, they took the stasis-locked bodies of Tigatron and Airraiser, removed their sparks, and fused their bodies together to form Tigerhawk, a body which they would then possess to give life to the most powerful transformer in the whole of the Beast Wars. This thing's entrance alone managed to destroy the Predacon's ship, something the Maximals hadn't been able to do for years. It then single-handedly defeated all of the Predacons, displaying godlike abilities, like an ability to control the weather, and reform the terrain around him, almost at will. And that's on top of the usual abilities like the ability to fly, the chain guns, the missile launchers, and electricity powers, of course. Anyway, the VOC were eventually extracted by Tarantulas and destroyed. He destroyed himself in the process too. And Tigatron and Airraiser finally got the happy ending they deserved. I always found Tigatron kinda annoying, but their sparks merged together within the body of Tigerhawk, and I thought this was a really nice ending. Tigerhawk himself was later destroyed when the Predacons found the old Decepticon warship Nemesis, and Tigerhawk was able to engage it and hold it off by himself, until eventually being overpowered. After that, Dinobot died again, and the Maximals left prehistoric Earth in a moment that marked the end of the Beast Wars. Of course, it would carry on in Beast Machines, but it wasn't the same. Waspinator stayed behind to rule over these, whatever they are.
Waspinator happy at last.
But you know, that's another story. Alright you guys, let's leave that there for now. Keep an eye out for most powerful Predacons that I'll try and have out later this week. I've got bots with superpowers in the works. They'll be in front of your eyeballs real soon. So make sure you guys are subscribed for all that stuff, and I will see you very soon for the next one. Thank you very much for watching, and cheerio, bye!